Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Spazoid21. Today's topic, World War II! I know what you're thinking. For those of you who stumbled upon this video that doesn't know that this is a class assignment and you just want to know more about World War II to sound intelligent in your history class, buckle in. And for those of you who are in my class watching this video, get off your phone! You in the front! Get off your phone! Okay, that's all I have to say. Okay, let's begin. Now, in the beginning, what led to World War II? I know what you're thinking. It was Hitler. He raised the power of Germany and started attacking Poland. And then, the Russians came in and joined them, and the Italians. Then the Allies came and said D-Day and beat them. And all that stuff. You're not wrong. That's a very vague, but we need to go more in depth into what really caused World War II. So, at the end of World War I, the Treaty of Versailles was made. And I know what you're thinking. I know that. But what happened when they signed that paper? So basically what happened is Germany had a friend that started a fight, and you're like, oh no, they're getting their butt kicked. Let me join in and fight them. But that big dude beats both your butts, and the cop comes and says, alright, you, Germany, you're taking all this hate. You're going to pay for all the damage that happened here. It's all your fault. The reason why you start. Even though they didn't start it. It was your friend's fault. You're probably not friends with after that, but... You know, they're mad. They're like, I didn't start this war. I don't want to pay this. I'm going to go into debt. You know how much that cost them? Cost them millions to millions of dollars. And it caused a great world of depression because people had to pay money for this stuff. And the Great Depression spread all around the world. But after that, this guy named Adolf Hitler. No, that's Donald Trump. The hell? Show a picture of Hitler, please. That's Hitler. Now, Hitler was like, yo, let's make this country great again. If you want to know what his campaign was to get to power, just look at Bernie Sanders. They're like identical. Google it. Not now. Watch this video. Then you can Google it after. So, Hitler went to power and was like, yo, let's attack Poland. You probably know this. Everybody knows this. If you don't know this, you've been living under a stinking rock, for God's sake. And good thing you're watching this video. Leave a like. You're asking, is that all I need to know? No. There's one last thing. The Treaty of Versailles gave no credit to Japan. You're asking, Japan was in World War I? I didn't know that. Me either. So you're in the same boat I am. But that's pretty much all I got to say about what led to World War II. It was the Treaty of Versailles. Now on to my next point about World War II. That I have to talk about. I'm required by this piece of paper saying I have to say it. But who cares? On to my next point! Guys, you won't believe this. World War II started. So when that happened, America's like, we're all neutral. I'm neutral with every side. We don't want any of this drama. Then they heard this, a few weeks later. They pick up and be like, who's this? And it was Britain. Britain was like, yo, we need your help. We need some tanks and some machine guns and grenades and etc. Could you send us some over? And America's like, I got you, homie. So they sent them over in civilian boats. But the Germans were like, nah, fam. I'm not letting any of the ships come by anymore because they're still getting weapons somehow. They're sneaking them over. So they were like... Burn it! So they started shooting ships down, civilians, even if they didn't have anything. And this one particular ship that was really special to us Americans, because it was kind of like the Titanic too, was the SS Atlanta. Do you see the similarities? Here's the Titanic. Here's SS Atlanta. So SS Atlanta got hit real bad. It got hit in where the cargo was being stored, where the guns and stuff were. And it killed 128 people. It was like one of the most massacre civilian kills on a boat in history. Britain was really upset. America was really upset about it. And that's what happened when America helps your homie out, Britain. So that's what ended up happening. Now I know what you're thinking. Wow, what happens next? I think we all know what happens next. Join me in my next point. Now a word from our sponsor. Are you tired of kids always on their phone while you're trying to teach them something so they can pass your class? Are you tired of taking away the phone from them even though they're still not paying attention? Well, we have the product just for you. Introducing the Sledgehammer. It's a very good tool for smashing things, random objects, glass, you name it. It's good for smashing. And also, it's good for smashing phones. No matter what the protector case on it, it will smash that phone. And when you smash that kid's phone, it'll learn 3 things that day. 1, don't be on your phone in class. 2, the teacher is crazy. And 3, this is not a sponsor. On with the video. Thank you, sponsors. Remember when I said Japan got no credit in the Treaty of Versailles? Well, they were kind of salty about it. And they're like, we're going to attack America because of it. Because, you know, they were helping the British and all that jazz. So Japan was thinking, when do we attack America when they're most vulnerable and least expecting it? And their military leader, General Tojo, was like, attack them on a Sunday. It's their resting. They're going to be going to church. They're going to be having brunch. They're going to be sleeping in, not doing much. It's when they least expect it. So about 7:48 a.m. in the morning, they sent 353 fighter planes. And they bombed Pearl Harbor. And they killed about 2,500 people, wounded 1,000 people. And I think you get the rest. So what were the outcomes of Pearl Harbor? Well, no duh. We went to war with Japan. Not just that, but we did give women more jobs to work while the men were going off to war. And they were helping out, building tanks, weapons, etc. And with all that happening, we were let out of our Great Depression from World War I because everybody needed jobs to build tanks or machine guns, and it boosted our economy. Now, there's one last thing that Pearl Harbor caused. About 2 months later, March 1st, 1941, Captain America's first issue was released. It gave the kids hope, something to look up to while the war was happening. With that all being said, please join me for my next point. I swear we'll get to our next point this time. I swear we will get to our next point. That was the only sponsor in our video. Not a real sponsor. But anyway, guys, on to my next point. Now to the good stuff. This is the Europe campaign we joined into. We joined Joseph Stalin and Winston Churchill. We were what was known as the Allies, or as what I call it, the Justice League.
Well, no duh, I already know that.
Who are you?
I'm that little fat kid that thinks that knows everything.
What the hell are you doing in my video? Get out! Get out of my video! Out! Out of my office! Out! Out you go! For God's sakes. I am so sorry. We have the Injustice League called the Axis Power, starting with the leader, Adolf Hitler from Germany, Benito Mussolini from Italy, and Emperor Hirohito, sorry for pronunciation, from Japan. So those were the leaders from the Justice League to the Injustice League. They were fighting both against each other, and they fought in the War of Stalingrad, which took place on February 2nd, 1943, when Germany was trying to take control of the eastern front of Russia for the town of Stalingrad, which resulted in the Soviet Union's victory and the destruction of Germany's 6th Army, Axis power, losing to the East Front. Then there was D-Day, when the United States, the UK, even Canada, New Zealand, and Australia, and Poland, and free forces of Belgium, and the Free French that were available, went to Normandy in France, fought on the shore, and beat Nazi Germany, and took the land back. Can I get a hell yeah? That all took place on June 6, 1944. I just want to give a quick shout out to the balloon squad that was distracting Germany while we were fighting. Shout out to those people. Are you done? No, we got one last battle. The Battle of Bulge when America, UK, Canada was versing Germany to take over Germany. And the result of that was we won! We beat Hitler! It was his last-ditch attempt to split the Allies in two, but did that happen? Hell no! We kicked Germany's butt and won! So are you done? Nah, we got more stuff to talk about. We also need to talk about the North Africa campaigns that started in 1940 and ended in 1943. That was 2 years, 11 months, 3 days. We had Britain, we had India, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and America, and many others. We were versing the Axis power, Italy, Germany, Japan, and many others that I cannot name at this moment in time. They fought in North Africa. I know what you're thinking. Well, no, duh. I have to say it. It's on the paper. And the second fight that happened while that was happening was the fight of El Alamein. It took place in 1942. And it's when Britain took back Africa and kicked Germany again. On to the next campaign. Not that campaign. That campaign ended in like 2016. On to the next campaign. And the last and final campaign we are going to talk about is the Pacific Campaign, known as the Asian Pacific War. That happened in 1941, lasted 3 years, 8 months, 3 weeks, 5 days. And you know who was there? The Justice League and the Injustice League, or the Axis power, you know, Japan. You know who they are. I've talked about them for like 3 times already. So remember when Pearl Harbor happened about 6 months ago? This is the Battle of Midway, when America got revenge and kicked Japan's butt. And then we kicked their butts again in Iwo Jima in 1945. It was us versus Japan. It was our Navy and our U.S. Marine Corps. And we beat them. End of story. End of our points. On to the next one. Now we gotta talk about the Tuskegee Airmen. The Tuskegee Airmen were a group of African Americans that served in the Air Force during World War II, and they outdid any other team. They were the best, and they were never lost a single mission, and they did over 200 missions. We also had Japanese Americans called the Nazi Regiment that fought in World War II against Japanese planes because they wanted to serve our country, and we thank them for that. These two teams did a very good job at what they were doing, and we thank them very much for that. Now, I know that point was quick, but on to the next one. Now we need to discuss Fat Boy and Little Boy. Why, if they should have been dropped? They were dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In my opinion, I say we did the right thing. You know, we gave them a fair warning. They kept attacking. You know, we were going to lose a lot of men if we kept fighting. And so we just ended it in 2 shots. Sometimes in war, you have to lose to win. On to my next point. Disclaimer, we're going to talk about the disgusting parts of World War II. If you are not interested in that, please feel free to click away. Please leave a like while you're at it. And thank you for tuning in so far. I will see you, but on with the video. We had a thing called the Geneva Convention. That was made after when Japanese tortured Americans, made them walk 80 miles without food or water. If they fell, they got shot. If they tied their shoes, they got shot. If they weren't hiking, they got shot. And 11,000 people died from it. And so the Geneva Convention was made and said, we cannot have this. You must treat your prisoners with care and respect. Now on to the next point. This is more of the serious part of the video. Sorry, there's been lacking of photos because we are going to talk about the Holocaust right now, as it is a gruesome topic. So let's begin. So the Holocaust was a big genocide to the Jewish people. And, you know, it wasn't just the Jewish. They killed homosexuals. They killed and Catholics and mentally handicapped, physically handicapped. They killed those people. But it was morally for the Jews. Now, why did they do this? They did this because they saw Jews as non-human. They wanted a perfect country. They wanted to pretty much take over the world, and they wanted to do it. So their final solution was to exterminate all the Jews by gassing them because they didn't want to waste their bullets shooting them. They tortured them. They starved them, and it was just not pretty. Can we have a moment of silence, please? One last thing, for this not to happen again, like me, I have a voice, and so do you. So, when bad things are happening, use that voice like I am right now. We cannot let this happen again. Thank you. Then we had the Nuremberg trials. The Nuremberg trials were held by the Allied forces after World War II, holding Nazis accountable for their crimes against the Jews, against us, against everybody, and they basically had to be punished for what they did. And were they sorry? No, they were sorry they were caught. It's the sad part. They were completely normal people doing this stuff, and I wonder about it. So, yeah, that's all we're going to talk about the Holocaust. I'm sorry, it's a touchy subject, but it's on the paper, so I have to talk about it. But don't worry, we're going to get into some dope stuff. So, as I'm getting excited, on to the next point. Now for our final point. Did he say final point? Did you hear that? He said final point! So for my final point, so when we as the men went to war, women got jobs in the factories, which limited our supplies at home. So we had ration cards. Like for the rations, you can only buy bread once a week. For shoes, you can only buy one pair a year because that rubber has to go to the tanks. Stuff like that. So what did this do to our economy? It went up, like I said earlier. It went up, it skyrocketed, and all that jazz. And what also was happening at home during World War II was we had Japanese camps because we thought they were communicating with Japan during Pearl Harbor. We were very superstitious, but, then we let them join us in the war. And, how was this information sent to the average American? To the children, it was by the comic books, as I said earlier. But there was also newspapers saying, we went to war, like some of these examples. That was pretty much it. So, we finished!
Victory Screech!
Woo! I know, it took us a long time. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, comment down what you liked, what you didn't like, all that jazz. Subscribe. And as always, I'm Spazoid21. Outro now.